So today I'm going to talk about my 6-star reads. Don't have that many 6-star reads. I only rate a book a 6-star if I can't stop thinking about it. I literally want to keep reading it as soon as I finished it. The books that I've rated a 6-star I still think about to this day, and they're just, I feel like they completely changed my reading experience basically. So let's talk about my 6-star reads. My first 6-star read was actually my first ever favorite book, to be honest. First ever favorite book, 6-star read, everything I still think about to this day. I love this book, I love the movie, and that's The Notebook. Like, I feel like majority of people have heard of The Notebook, have seen the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, it's basically about Charlie and Noah, and it was like love like no other. They loved each other so deeply. One of them ended up going away, I'm pretty sure it was him, and basically they just lost touch. The love never disappeared. Basically they've always loved each other, and when she comes back suddenly to their hometown, she's actually engaged, and he thinks he's just lost the love of his life. It just shows how powerful love can be, really, because he never has stopped loving her. She's never stopped loving him, even though she's engaged, you'd think. But, you know, first love's the first love, I guess. And it's just them finding their way back to one another no matter how many obstacles are in the way. And it is such a beautiful love story, honestly. But this book, it holds a special place in my heart. It's beautiful. This book is beautiful. Now, the next book I'm going to talk about has been like #1 book on so many lists for a long time, and that's Honeybee. Honeybee. I love this book. Oh my gosh. It was nothing I expected. I've never really read a book like it either, and I loved every second of it. I really did. It's just everything you want and more in a book, honestly. It's about a 14-year-old Sam who is going through a lot. Like, he's had a rough time, and he's like, I'm gonna end it all. Like, it's not for me. So he's about to jump off, I think it's an overpass. But then an elderly guy is down the end, Vic. Now Vic is also not having a good time. They really have been needing each other, and they haven't even known it. They don't know each other. So they come together, they actually form a friendship, and the most unexpected friendship, the most beautiful friendship. The book is just about them forming this friendship. Sam moves in with Vic, and Vic has lost his wife, and Sam's family was not the place you want to be, and they come together and they save each other's lives, honestly. Premise of the book is really about Sam and him trying to discover who his true self is, and it's about self-discovery. It's really quite heartbreaking, the book, but it's also so beautiful and loving, and I just think it's a very good representation of how helpful people can be in times of need. It starts off so sad, and they're both willing to end it all, and it ends so beautifully with them like together. And I would read this again. Like, the next book is by one of my favorite authors ever. I would say this is probably #1 or #2 of my all-time favorite books. I loved this book. So I've read Stephen King books before. My mum's a very big Stephen King fan, and I've read a lot of his books. And I started getting back into reading his books with this one and The Institute by Stephen King. I think about this book probably like that many times a day. It's one of those books where you're completely in the world and you just lose yourself, and it truly is. It's called Fairy Tale, and it truly is a fairy tale, and not in the ways you'd expect. So it's about a boy, Charlie, who comes across a dog called Raider, and eventually he finds out that Raider is owned by an elderly man called Howard, who's very, I'd say, misunderstood, quite lonely. It's that house on the end of the street that everyone's kind of scared of, and Charlie forms an unexpected friendship with both the dog Raider and Howard when Howard offers him to look after his house in some ways, like feed the dog, walk the dog, do jobs around the house. So they form an unexpected friendship, but then Howard unexpectedly dies, and Charlie is coming to terms with that because he has also been left a cassette tape with a story that's so unbelievable. Like, and the whole time he's worked at this house, there's been a shed in the backyard that he wasn't allowed to go in. He hadn't heard anything about it. And in the cassette tape, it tells him what the shed is. And it's this this portal basically into this whole other world. And when he goes into this world, it truly is a fairy tale. It's got everything you would associate with a fairy tale, like everything. Like, it's got any creature you can imagine basically, but it's not the typical fairy tale like, oh, happy endings and everything. It is a happy ending, but the creatures in there, it doesn't automatically lead him to a happy ending. And he goes into this world not knowing really what he's gonna find, and he ends up immersed in this world, and he's on this adventure in this world. I just loved this book. It was so good. I love Stephen King's writing, and oh my gosh. Next book I'm going to talk about, I don't actually have with me because I lent it to a friend, but it's the last thing he told me. I would say one of the first books I read where I did not want to put it down. I constantly thought about it. I probably read it in like 1 or 2 days. It was a mystery book about a woman, and her husband Owen disappears, and the last thing he leaves her is a note that says protect her. The protect her is about his daughter that had lost her mum when she was a child. So the wife is the stepmother. The whole book is just about the wife trying to uncover where her husband's gone and trying to form a friendship and a loving home for the stepdaughter, because the stepdaughter is not particularly fond of her. So it's about them creating a bond whilst also trying to find what happened to the husband. You never know really what's going to happen. It's such a mystery. It's so well written, and the wife thinks she knows the husband, but does she really? Because it just is leading to the assumption that he's hiding something, and he is. Something quite big, I must say. It was the first mystery book I read, I'd say, where it's just got so many twists and turns, you never really know what's going to happen. And it was one of those books that really got me into that kind of genre of reading, and I really appreciate that. Now, the final 6-star read I'm going to talk about is not a stranger to anyone, I'm sure, but that is Fourth Wing. I love Fourth Wing. I love Fourth Wing for so many reasons. For one, it got me into fantasy reading, and it is a very easy fantasy read, I'd say. I just couldn't put this book down. It was everything I wanted and more. So it is about a young girl called Violet who her whole life has been immersed in books. They all get put into quadrants, and when she's needing to be put in one, she's automatically assumed to be put in the scribe quadrant, just living a life amongst a library and with books. But then her mother says that she must apply for the writer's quadrant, which is the hardest one to get into because you have to bond with dragons, and you have to be tough, and you have to be strong, and she's quite timid and frail and quite weak, to put it lightly. And not only are you like getting put in this quadrant, but you also have to bond with a dragon. If you don't, they could kill you, or you could die from any number of things, because it is the hardest quadrant to be a part of, because there's so many strong people, and if you're quite weak, you're not going to be a part of it. You have to bond. Like, the dragons can smell when you're weak. I'm not going to spoil anything, but she does bond with a dragon, and she becomes quite strong and very independent. She trusts a lot of people, which I'm sure she probably wouldn't have in her past. And a lot of people are out for vengeance against her because of her mother is in power. Her sister was a part of the writer's quadrant, and she was quite strong. And throughout the book, you just see Violet become such a bigger personality and more powerful. And she not only has to survive battling to be a part of the quadrant, but she also has to battle her feelings. When she falls in love with someone she probably shouldn't. That's all I'm saying. Like, someone very powerful and someone bad I love him, but he's bad. Yeah, she becomes such an important person in this world, and it's just, this book is just, it's like everything you want and more. It's like a mix between I'd say How to Train Your Dragon and Divergent, with like the groupings. I need to do a reread, honestly, because the characters in this book hold like such a special place in my heart, honestly. I would say that Fourth Wing, this is just how I feel about this book. I love it. And as it says on the front cover, fly or die. So these are my 6-star reads. Now, I would say I've only gotten back into reading for like a few years now. I will forever think about these books. I'm sorry, but if people have never had a 6-star read, you need to find better books, because it's the best feeling in this world. That's my 6-star read. Sorry if I stuttered a lot. I'm just so excited about reading.